Welcome to Sound Advice with Phyllis Nichols. This podcast is for women and the men who love them, who are determined to make a difference in the world. You'll hear from other women who followed their own path to success, who are willing to share what they've learned along the way. Be ready to laugh, learn, and be inspired. Who knows, your story could be next. Your host, Phyllis Nichols, will make sure you see the possibilities in your own life, and even better, give you proven strategies to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
Welcome to episode 1 with Meredith Liepelt. She's a branding and PR strategist and helps entrepreneurs to step into the spotlight and be unforgettable to their audience by creating expert status through marketing, branding, and PR techniques. Welcome, Meredith.
Well, thanks for that great introduction. So, I'm just always listening to clients and, people who are, interested in having a conversation with me and then, responding to that. And I think that's what I have found over the years is that's one of the keys is really listening to what people need and what they want, and then coming up with solutions for what they need. Now, certainly all within the area of marketing and PR and branding and all that. So that's really how I've really grown my business, is just meeting the needs of my clients. So recently, and I'd say I've really been in the past probably 6 to 10 months or so, doing more in terms of public relations and media relations for clients. And now I've done this for years for my coaching clients and other people that I'm working with. But people just seem to be coming to me more and more to help them to get media coverage. So I've put together, a new program to teach people, all the techniques that I use for myself and I have used for my clients that have helped them to, whether it's getting on, CNBC or their local TV station, or being quoted on a great blog, or, having the TV station come out to wherever they are, or, just different things like that. So teaching the whole process of how that works, how to really work with the media, how to give them what they need, because it's a whole intersection of what you want and then what they need, right?
Right.
And finding how that comes together. So that's really how what I've been working on lately, is teaching people how to do that, and then also taking on more direct media relations clients myself, and with a small team that I have created here.
Okay, so you're doing a combination, a little bit of teaching other people how to be able to do it on their own, for themselves, for their business or their cause. And then you're also, in some cases, doing it for them. People are hiring you and you're doing that kind of thing. You're basically acting, and you are their PR agency or their PR professional. Does that sound right?
It is. And even when I kind of take on that media relations role for people, I still try to teach them and coach them along the way, because I'm a huge believer that every business owner is really their best publicist. And there are just some basic things that I think that most business owners need to understand about how the world of media works, and how it doesn't work, and how you could very easily get on a bad list and you don't want to do that. And,
right.
And just because as much as you can, hire a firm like mine, or any other firm, really there's so many opportunities all the time that are coming your way. So I think that it's this combination of understanding how it all works and comes together, and then also, if you don't want to take the time to be, writing pitches and coming up with different ideas and, working your media list and have someone else do that for you, it's still important to understand the backside of it, because it really is a partnership when you work with a PR agency, because, to understand, this is going on, this might be newsworthy, or this is coming up in the future, this might be newsworthy. So just having that basic understanding of how it all works, I think, is really, really critical.
Right. No doubt it is. And actually, this is a topic I think a lot of people probably find a little intimidating, just because there are some nuances, and there's sort of a right way and a wrong way. In a lot of business and a lot of marketing and some other areas, you have some flexibility to kind of do some things your way. But when it comes to that, I guess a couple of things I wanted to ask. I mean, is there some advice that you've received in regards to sort of how to manage this or how to go about doing this that's been really helpful to you as you've gained, knowledge in this field and or in anything really that you're doing? Because I know you've really been a business owner for a long time, and you've been successful, and you've done a number of things. Is there something that you can point to that you found really, really helpful for you, or something that you go back to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember who first told me this, and I've heard this several, variations on this several times since then, and it's something that I really have taken to heart, and I've shared with others as well, and it's this whole concept of done being much better than perfect. Done is better than perfect, because I know that, like when we have a program that we're putting out there, or we have something that we're doing, or, a new speech that we're making, or, a new website or something like that. Now, certainly you want it to be great. No doubt about it. I'm not saying put, ineffective or yucky stuff out there.
Sure.
But there does come a point where done is better than perfect, because this quest, I've seen it stop people. I've seen it stop myself, no matter what it, in air quotes here, it is. It can, that quest for it to be perfect can really, really stop someone's progression. And sometimes, Phyllis, it can be like something really small, like it's just a decision, like, do I say it like this or do I say it like that? And if you can't, like a tagline, for example. Well, how about just try it and see, just try it on for size.
Yeah.
It's not like it has to be set in stone. So
yeah. Well, no, that's great. And you're right. I think that's something that that a lot of us can relate to, right? It's that, the novelist who gets 95% of the way finished and just can't finish, or just can't, that happens, I think, to a lot of people for that reason. And so along those lines then, I mean, obviously it sounds like you've been able to sort of either figure out how to move past that, or you've gotten some strategies that have helped you be able to kind of what the Seth Godin would call ship, to go ahead and keep moving forward. Is there any kind of piece of advice or strategy that you would like to share that's kind of helped you be able to say, okay, this is maybe not perfect, but it's good, it's really good, and I'm ready to sort of introduce it to the world, or I'm going to help my client introduce it to the world? What, you have any kind of advice that might be helpful to those of us who are kind of in that space where we're like, I think I'm ready, but maybe I'll postpone this to the first of the year. Well, maybe I'll postpone it until after this or that, or, it seems like those kinds of things happen a lot.
Yeah, and I'm still on my journey too. I don't feel like I've totally perfected this, but I have to sometimes, remind myself, like, I just, it's just a matter of getting something to the point where it's really, really, really good, and it's okay to not put something out that, well, if this were just a little bit different or a little bit better, and because things can change. Like we have this feeling that if we put something out there, it's like that forever and a day. If I put this program out, then that's what I'm going to have to do for the next, 50 years of my life, and that's just not true. So the other thing that I always come back to is the whole idea of, that the clarity that we're seeking. I think that's what when we get stuck on this idea of perfection, what we're really seeking is clarity. Like, is this right? Should I be taking this direction? And I think that clarity comes through taking action. And I think it comes through, obviously you've got to think through your choices and make strategic, decisions and be smart about what you're doing. But I think that clarity that we're all seeking does not come from sitting in our offices and thinking about it only. It comes through taking action. And sometimes that requires a lot of courage, right? Because that action might end up making you maybe look bad in someone's eyes, or, they don't get it, or, or it just doesn't work. And you know what? It's all good. It's all because you learn stuff. The only way that you're going to learn and grow is to get out of that comfort zone. There's another great quote. Let me think what it is. The enemy of greatest potential is your comfort zone. So getting out of that comfort zone from time to time, I think, is very, very beneficial. And that requires you taking different actions so that you can get that clarity, so that you're not stuck in that quest for perfection. Right.
No, well, and you're so right. And I think sometimes too, just, inertia I think, can be our own worst enemy, right? It's not that the next step is going to be right or wrong or good or bad or even maybe that hard. It's just sort of getting past the inertia of either the planning or the whatever that is. It's different for all of us depending on what stage you're in. But sometimes, it's just the inertia of sending that email to the contact that you need to follow up with, or some of those things. And kind of, I don't know. I mean, I feel like sometimes, right, it's almost like it's almost this bigger hurdle than we think it is. And then once we kind of get moving and you kind of get some forward momentum, then it's a little bit easier to, like, step 2 and 3 and 4 are a lot easier than step 1.
Yeah.
Whatever step 1 looks like. Yeah. Yeah. So
I agree with that. And the thing that I have to keep coming back to myself is really asking this question, which is, I think, a key question. It's really what am I most committed to? Am I most committed to success and growth, or am I more committed to convenience and comfort? And
that's a great. Would you repeat that? Because I think that's actually pretty powerful, and I think that's a good crossroads for a lot of us, right? Where we're sitting kind of right there.
Right. So it goes like this. It goes like, Meredith, what are you most committed to right now? Success and growth, or convenience and comfort? And it's not meant to be judgmental. It's just like,
sure, because
there are times when, there are times when convenience and comfort that's really what you need at that particular point.
Sure.
But is that real, or is that just because you've got some fear going on, right? So you have to really kind of check in with yourself and have that emotional honesty conversation with yourself to really figure out, like, do I need that convenience and comfort right now, or really should I take that action that makes me scared and be more committed to my success and growth? Because, everyone, the idea of growth sounds awesome and amazing and exciting, but it's also, like, it's scary. It's scary to put yourself out there in a different way, and it's scary to offer new programs and services, and what if it doesn't work, and what if, and what if, and what if, and the fact is, that's all nonsense. Who cares?
Right. Right, you're right. So, but when you're in the midst of it, kind of when you're in the thick of it, I'll call it, or when you're in that sort of analysis and everything, it's hard. You're right. It isn't anything, right? It's just sort of chatter and noise, but it doesn't feel that way sometimes, right? It feels super significant, like, oh my gosh. I mean, I know, even decisions to, maybe like to hire somebody like you to do PR, or for somebody to hire, somebody to help them with their website or whatever, just different things, right? Like these sometimes decisions that they know will move them forward, become really hard to make for a variety, because that moving forward sort of represents this sort of step in faith and maybe a little bit of a belief in yourself, and those sorts of things. Like, I can do this, I can take this next step, I can, growth kind of requires, I don't know, what I like to call sort of that, like, that quiet confidence piece, right? It doesn't mean you have to shout it out to the world, but, inside you've got to be able to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to take this next step, and it's big. At least it's big for me, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because I know I can handle it, or I deserve it, or I want to grow into the person that can do that kind of thing, the person that can do that work, or the person that owns that kind of business, or whatever that thing is for you. And I think it's a mindset thing for sure, but I think it's also comes down again to sort of that quest for perfectionism, right? We allow that to be an excuse, or we allow that to be a reason why we don't sort of give ourselves permission to take that next step.
I think that's absolutely spot on, and because it's a matter of what we're thinking and what we're allowing those thoughts to say to ourselves, and then how that comes out of our mouth and how that comes out in our actions, and all that kind of thing. So I really think that it is important to get really, really honest with yourself and to check in. And like you said, it could be anything from, do I want to, be a speaker? Do I want to redo my website? Do I want to do this new program? Either create a new program or join a coaching program, or, participate in this networking group in this particular way, or add staff member, or, just all those things that make us, a little bit nervous.
Right. Right. So, okay, so we've kind of, if we're in that place, and I think a lot of people can relate to that because we've all been there at times, I just kind of want to summarize because you've given us some really great advice. So to kind of ask ourselves the question, like really what's most important right now? What are we really committed to?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, I think you talk about being honest, right, and being sometimes, we're not always willing to be really honest with ourselves. I know sometimes I'm like, oh no, really, I was gonna do that. I just ran out of time, or whatever. Like I was gonna send the email, but I wanted to, sleep on it, or I wanted to edit it again. There's some things I've rewritten like 20 times, and I obviously have to be honest with myself. At some point, it becomes a delaying tactic, right? It's not like that 20th revision isn't significantly better than the 19th revision. It just needs to get done.
Right.
So those are awesome. Any last little things? So if we're getting honest with ourselves, and how about if we just sort of need help? Like I know obviously a lot of people provide help, but if there's either a go-to, either technique, or there's just a way that you've been able to say, okay, Meredith, like here's a strategy. I'm really big on sort of having a plan. So do you have sort of a little plan when you get to that place and you're like, okay, I am committed to growth. I'm committed to moving forward. And even though I'm fearful, like here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, well, really the whole emotional honesty piece is an important one. So if you were to, and I'll tell you how this showed up for me in a minute. So like, what are the few things that I'm really scared to admit or I don't want to admit, right? And what are the negative emotions or fears about that or about the future? Those kinds of things. So how this showed up for me was several years ago. I went out to Los Angeles. And I attended this amazing star-studded, event out there. It was the Costume Designers Guild Awards, and it was so amazing to be around these super creative people. And we're here at this iconic hotel in Beverly Hills, and I thought, gosh, it'd be really fun to bring a group of my clients out here and just coach them here, and then go to this thing. And I sat on that idea, Phyllis, for 2-3 years. Just sat on it, thinking, because Here's what I was scared to admit or didn't want to admit. I'm sitting here thinking, who am I to take a group of people to, the Beverly Hills Hilton and sit around this amazing, pool and then, be in the room with these people who are just so creative. They're winning these amazing awards, and a lot of famous people are there too. But it's all these just amazing creative people, and because here I am like in my regular life, making cookies for the brownie sale and driving my minivan and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, well, what a weird juxtaposition. And then I just decided one year, here's who I am. I have the connections. I want to go do this. I know exactly how to go do this. Literally, all I have to do is pick up the phone, make some phone calls, and make it happen. And so I just did it, and it was great. And the funny thing is after I did it, some people who couldn't go with me that year said to me, "Oh my gosh, please put me on the list for next year. That looked so great. I want to go next year," and all that kind of thing. But I just had to get honest with myself about what was really holding me back. And it was such a fantastic experience. I'm so glad that I just sat down and had that strategy of really what's making me scared.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I do remember when you did that, and it looked like it was really fun. I mean, not just to be in that environment, but I got to imagine that your clients and people who went with you, right, had this, not just just a great experience, right? A great time, a great experience, probably some personal, professional growth, but just a really cool time while they were doing it as well, which is really cool.
Was really cool, and you're right. It was both. It was personal and professional growth, and really like stepping into your own star power, and thinking about really what that means to each person, and growing and all that kind of stuff. And I have to say, there's nothing like coaching in a swimming pool. So.
Oh, wow, that is really cool. Well, thank you so much for being here today. The stuff that you've, the information that you've shared with us has just really been amazing, and I've got several takeaways. I appreciate it very much. Now, I will just remind everybody, Meredith's website is called richlifemarketing.com. You can find a lot of information about her there. She also is on Facebook under Rich Life Marketing as well. On the website and the show notes, I will definitely have some additional contact information, how you can reach Meredith. I know on her site she's got a couple of books, both of which I've gotten are really good. So thank you, Meredith, for being part of the podcast today.
Welcome. Thank you, Phyllis. You are amazing.
Yeah, no problem. And have a great day. We'll talk with you soon.
Till next time, have fun, be you, and share your sound advice with the world. For more info and show notes, or to connect with Phyllis, go to soundadvicesales.com or on Facebook at Sound Advice Sales.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.